Okay. Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is a meeting of Frome Town Council. I'm Andy Rintmore and I'll be chairing the very first part of this annual council meeting. Just to remind everyone, we've got people online and here in the room. For those in the room, a little housekeeping. The emergency exit is in the rear corner of the room, and the assembly point is the far side of the car park. Toilets are at the end of the corridor on the right, and there is an accessible toilet to the right of the lift. Help yourselves to a cup of tea. Tonight, Paul will clerk, Laura will manage the slides and take the minutes. The meeting will be recorded and we are live streaming to our YouTube channel. For those councillors attending via Zoom, please use the yellow hand, and for everyone else, ask questions through the Q&A board. The first task of this new council is to elect a new mayor, but before we do that, I would like to announce a new award that we're giving out. It's going to be a Lifetime Achievement Award, and it's something I would like to be seen put into tradition here at Frome Town Council. And this award is for June Barnes, who's with us today. Hi, June. Forgive me, because I have a fairly lengthy script, because with a Lifetime Achievement Award, there's generally a lifetime of things to talk about, isn't there? So June has been a pillar of the community for more than 7 decades, acting as a linchpin and driving organisational force in numerous groups and clubs. June has been heavily involved in the running of Frome's netball team for 70 years now, guiding it with a steady hand on the tiller through its high points and some of its more challenging moments. Frome Carnival Committee have been lucky enough to have June for over 30 years. Starting out as a secretary, June is now the chairman and attends many other carnivals in the local area, volunteering and marshalling. June has been an influential presence at Frome's much-loved South Parade Club, being a vital member of the club's management team in the past, but I'm now told enjoys a more relaxed member situation. Just play Skittles. For at least 35 years, June has been the chairman of the St John's Church Wives Group, so that makes you one of the most powerful women in the town, I think, with all the gossip that you've heard over the years. The list continues. June has been a consistent and binding force in the former Pupils Association of Frome Grammar School, now known as Frome Community College, organising reunions and newsletters. Is there a special reunion this year? Lovely stuff, okay. And if that wasn't enough, June had a MBE in 2013 for all of the things I've just mentioned, and I'm sure more. Was it Princess Anne that gave it to Margaret? Anne? An MBE, well, there we go. So that was just a warm-up award, I think, for what we're about to give you tonight. Yeah, lovely stuff. So please join me in celebrating June and the 70 years of service to Frome community with the very first Mayoral Lifetime Achievement Award. Lovely stuff. Come on up. That was great, that was lovely. I look forward to the next one. Okay, the bit you've all been waiting for, you get to get rid of me now. It's time to get a new mayor. And thank you very much for the year I've had. Thank you for all the opportunities, and thank you for the support. And thank you to the town for all of the love that I've received. It's been a profound experience, one like no other. And yeah, I'll look back on it very fondly. So thank you very much. I would like to propose Sarah Butler, who's been my deputy for the last year. I think it's time. I think you're ready. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm going to take great pleasure in proposing Sarah Butler for mayor.
Is there a seconder?
Have we got a seconder? Nick Dove. All in favour? Yeah.
It's unanimous.
I suppose I better give you this chain, haven't I?
Take it off, big man.
Here we are.
Thank you. Been away a lot heavier on him, on me, than it did on him. Very fetching piece of jewellery, I think. Huge thank you to Andy. He's been a massively engaging and hard-working mayor for the town. He's brought about a lot of love for Frome Town Council. He's done an outstanding job, and I know he's going to carry on being an amazing councillor. So give it up.
It's fun.
Thank you. Right. Hopefully I'm going to be able to chair these meetings with as much aplomb and wit as Andy has, and I'm looking forward to lots of lively and enthusiastic debates over the coming year. And to kick off, I have to propose a deputy mayor. And unfortunately, the person that I'm proposing is not here, but we are happy to do this in his absence. And I am going to propose new councillor Philip Campagna. Can anyone second that? Andy Rintmore. And all those in favour?
That's unanimous.
Unanimous also. Welcome to the junior seat, Philip. And then we have to vote on and approve the minutes from the last meeting, which was on the 16th of March. So I need, first of all, a proposer that we vote on those. So somebody can propose that for me. Nick Dove, seconded by Steve Tanner. All those in favour of approving the last minutes?
That's majority.
Majority, okay.
You've got to
Oh, you did? Oh, so what are you worrying about, Mel?
So Mel voted, so that's unanimous. Yep.
Marvellous. And then before we go on to the main items for the evening, we have questions and comments.
Apologies.
Sorry, Paul needs to do apologies.
So we have two councillors on Zoom, but because they're not present in the room, they are technically sending their apologies. And that is Mark Dorrington and Philip Campagna, our Deputy Mayor. And the apologies, neither in the room nor on Zoom, from Polly Lamb, Ben Still, Andy Jones and Anita Collier.
Thank you for that.
So
And
we just need to vote on whether to approve those apologies.
can we approve to approve the apologies?
So you were proposing...
I'm proposing Lisa Anne Hill, seconded.
And can you just vote on whether you approve to accept those apologies? So that's by a majority. Max is not voting in favour. No, you're voting to accept the apologies. That's what we do. Yeah. So it's by majority?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then any declaration of councillors' interests on any items on the agenda this evening?
Good.
No, that looks like a no. Okay, so now we're going on to questions and comments from the public and councillors. I know there are some. Does anyone want to kick off? I think, Mel, you have a question, do you? Oh, don't forget the microphone.
I'll be quick because we've got a lot on the agenda, and that's one of the points. First, can I just raise, as a council, the problems that we're having with rats down at the market car park? And if you watch it on Facebook and other social media, then there's a lot of people commented and quite a lot of criticism of Mendip of not doing anything. So perhaps we could write from one council to another saying that this is unsatisfactory and could be dangerous, particularly to children. But there are a lot of rats. I mean, I've seen up to 10 rats wandering around, and some of them quite big. So perhaps if we could do that from one council to another?
So that was
To Mendip
talk
Council?
Mendip
Yes.
Sure.
about the rat problem. Was Chris Stringer going to say something about that? Is he there? Is he online?
He was due to be online.
I'll go to my second point while you're seeing if you can find him.
Okay.
Can you take pity on us? There's 108 sides on this agenda, which is 54 pages, which is an awful lot. And I'm not quite sure about everybody else, but I found it difficult wading through all of the papers, and in the way that they were laid out, they weren't consecutively numbered. So perhaps we could have a chat, perhaps with the new leader, in terms of what it is that we want as councillors, and sometimes it's just a bit too much information. So, thank you.
Sure, no
Yeah,
problem.
understood. Did we find Chris Stringer?
No, I think he's not here.
Can we park that question for Chris to come back to? Nick? Sorry.
We will write to Mendip anyway.
On the
That seems a
rats.
reasonable thing to do. Yeah, about the rats.
Just on the, sorry, it's Nick Dove here, previous Market Ward councillor. I was involved in trying to deal with the rats in different ways, trying to find a ferret brave enough to take them on, which failed. There's an issue that Neil Howlett, who's many people know, has been trying to deal with this. There is somebody who distributes grain around the town in large quantities on a regular basis, who Mendip know the identity of this individual and have declined to take action against them, which is deeply frustrating. There's talk of the rats getting into the back of the community fridge, which is pretty horrible, and they are vermin, and something should be done about them.
Noted. Thank you, Nick. Any other comments on that, or any other questions from councillors or the public? Okay, then the next few points are going to be handled by Paul.
Thank you. I do apologise for the amount of paper on this agenda. The financial regs and the standing orders are there, and they need to be approved at this meeting annually. So maybe if we had taken those out, it would have been less to look at. But the general point, I think, is well made about let's have a think about what's on these agendas. So without further ado, the standing orders are something we have to approve every year. As I say, they are in the documents. I suggest I don't go through them and read them out because we'd all fall over with boredom. But they're important, and they set the rules of the council. They are virtually unchanged from the current standing orders. Laura and I have clarified a couple of points, as you see in the report, but otherwise, may I, with one exception, I noticed a typo in them earlier on today. I proposed to suggest that the agendas of all the meetings went to the unitary councillors, given that the unitary council elections have just been had, but technically the councillors that were elected to the unitary remain county councillors until 1st of April next year. So I propose not to include my suggestion of inserting unitary in there, so maybe that would be okay. Otherwise, they remain unchanged, and I suggest that someone proposes them if they want to.
Okay.
Or any questions on that? So if you want to propose,
I'll propose.
or anyone proposes.
I can propose that. Can I have a second, Anne?
All those in favour of approving the standing orders as tabled? That's great, that's unanimous.
Can you send the agendas to the still the county councillors anyway?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, yes. And the current district councillors as well. let's not minute that point. The code of conduct is how councillors decide and approve that they're going to behave in the year ahead. It sounds awfully officious, but the spirit of it is about coming from the standards in public life and making sure that councillors behave as good representatives of the community. And again, it's a new code of conduct produced by the Local Government Association that our principal authorities either have or will very soon approve. And we're using that document for consistency reasons. So again, I suggest that
We vote on
somebody
that.
proposes.
Can
And
somebody propose that we approve the councillors' code of conduct? Nick Dove and a seconder, Melasha, and those in favour? That looks like everyone.
that's unanimous. And finally, the general power of competence. It's a really good way of enabling parish councils, which we're part of that sector, to do much more than historically was the case prior to the Localism Act of 2011. It's something we use virtually daily, so I'd urge you to confirm that this council's eligible to accept the general power of competence, and that just allows us to do much more than we would normally be able to do.
That's a kind of proposer, Lisa, and a seconder, Max. And then all those in favour? Looks
That's
like
marvellous,
everyone.
that's unanimous. That, I think,
Is that
is me on that one.
Okay. Paul is also going to handle the next point, are you, I think?
Yes,
Yeah.
when I get to that page. Okay, talking informally to councillors before the meeting, there is a proposer, I believe, a proposal for a leader of the council. So can I have a proposer to propose somebody? Who would that somebody be?
Can I propose Anita Collier?
And a seconder for that?
Seconder for that? Tracy? And all those in favour?
Marvellous, that's unanimous.
Looks unanimous. Well done to Anita.
I understand at the moment there is not an identified deputy leader, so we don't need to
No.
vote on that.
No.
Secondly, the question of Town Matters and Council Matters Committee, I understand the proposal is to pause those for a while until they decide what to do.
That's correct.
That's fine, so we don't need any proposals for those two committees.
Not right now.
I understand that the Planning Committee is wanted to be continued.
Continued, yeah.
So I think, have you agreed a group of councillors who would like to be on that Planning Committee yet? No,
We've agreed the chair.
I thought not. So to get that going, I suggest that all councillors are de facto on that committee until you've decided the numbers and the people who want to be on it.
Do I need to propose that?
Just a question on that. Will that cause a problem with chorusing?
Yes, great minds think alike. You and Steve. Only in that the quorum number for the first few planning committees will need to be 6 councillors attending. And then when you get down to a smaller, if you get down to a smaller number, then it's obviously a third or of that smaller number. So if there isn't a quorum, then as happened at the last 3-weekly cycle of the planning committee, the myself and in consultation with Steve and the planning manager Jane Llewellyn, we decided we had delegated authority to submit the town council's response. So
We can still operate even if there weren't 6 people physically at that meeting.
you could do, yeah, no problems there. So I need a proposal just for formality that all councillors are on the planning committee for the time being.
Can somebody propose that for us? Nick Dove, seconded by Steve Tanner. All those in favour?
That's
Yep,
marvellous,
that
that's
looks like
unanimous. Now, because you haven't at the moment gone through with any other committees other than the planning, there's no point in appointing a committee that doesn't exist. So there's the planning committee. Is there any proposals for chair of the planning committee?
I propose Steve Tanner.
Second.
Second, Fiona Barrows. Everyone in favour? Unanimous. Great stuff.
Now, there's the grants advisory group. Sorry, I missed that one out on the membership of that. I'm assuming that we could have the grants advisory group to comprise all councillors if you haven't decided who wants to sit on it next. Again, just to get it over that hurdle.
Yeah.
And then secondly, if you haven't decided on a chair of that committee yet, that can be appointed by that group in its first meeting.
Good.
Unless you have.
No.
Okay. So just going back one, there's a proposal that all councillors sit on the grants advisory panel for the time being.
Someone proposed that. Nick Duff again, seconded by Anne. Everyone in favour? Everyone, yeah.
Good, that's unanimous. Thank you. It's Laura's turn now.
Okay, so the next point is adopting the calendar of meetings for 2022-23. Over to Laura.
So these were originally decided in January, but we've brought them back for the new councillors. And now, since the previous item on the agenda, where committees are no longer happening, the one that was sent out with the agenda last week obviously had the committees on them. So we've made a slight revision to the calendar of meetings to remove the committee meetings and have a council meeting roughly every 4 weeks. So it should be a 4-weekly cycle. So we have got a slightly amended recommendation to say approve the revised calendar of meetings for 22-23 with only council and planning committee meetings.
And have you got the revised calendar of meetings? Bear with. While Laura's doing that, we thought that the most appropriate thing would be to take the dates where the committee meetings would have been and make those a council meeting. So roughly one a month, as you can see, Laura scrolling through the screen there, roughly in the middle of the month. So that's the revised proposal. Now, technically, what we have to do, because the recommendation has been revised, we need someone to propose the revision and then vote on the revised.
Okay.
So we need someone to propose the revision.
Someone can do that for me. Propose the revision of the timetable of meetings. Nick Dove, seconded Andy Rintmore. All those in favour? Everybody?
That's unanimous.
Yeah.
And then the revised one, I'll just read it out. Approve the revised calendar of meetings for 2022-23 with only council and planning committee meetings in it.
Yeah. Somebody can propose that. Nick, seconded by Tracy. All those in favour?
It's unanimous.
Yes. Yes, unanimous.
Keep up, Max.
It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot of flag waving tonight.
No, go on.
Yeah, that's the end of that point, is it? We're finished with that one. Thank you very much for that, Laura. Point 8 on the agenda is approving the annual governance and accountability return for 21-22 and looking at earmarked reserves for specific projects. And that's over to Sarah, who's here.
Be pleased to know there's no presentation. I'm only here because they have to sign the documents. So the AGAR is the Annual Governance and Accountability Return. The report has been sent out with all the detail. We can talk about the earmarked reserves afterwards. What you need to agree in the first instance is that I can tell you the internal auditor has been around and approved the entire 4 quarters of the year. So the first one is that you ensure that there's a sound system of internal control, including arrangements for the preparation of accounting statements. So if you're all in agreement with that, that would be signed by the chair and clerk of the meeting.
And so someone has to propose that, do they?
Yes.
So can someone propose? Yes, Max, and a seconder. Andy, and everyone in favour of that? Yes, that's everyone.
Unanimous.
Unanimous signing of
So
that.
you need to sign there, and then Paul signs there.
Can we pack it? Thanks.
So the second one is the accounting statement. I have confirmed that it is an accurate record of the year, and if you're all in agreement, it would be signed by the chairman of the meeting.
So can somebody propose that we accept that as an accurate record of the year, and seconded by Nick? All approvals? Yes, that looks like everyone as well. Thank you.
Mel, did you?
Found a pen.
That's right, I just
it did.
missed that.
So I've got one found.
Great.
Where is it? There you go.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Were there any questions from the finance reports that were sent out? Getting through that agenda really quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, there is. There's just the final recommendations. Can you bring, oh, they're up there on the screen.
Okay, so these are things we need to vote on as well.
What's the third one? Okay, that's good.
Okay.
So those, now there's the final 4, 5, 6 and 7 that need to be, well, if you want.
So,
Proposed and voted.
yeah.
Yes, Mel, yes.
The general reserves, may I just check with you again that the general reserves are recommended, not a provision, it's not a statute?
Do you want that one or shall I? Up to you.
It doesn't say that in the
But the minimum general reserve of 180,
Yeah.
180.
it's recommended by the financial regs,
Whose financial regs?
ours. So we can change it if we wish.
Yeah, so, right. I just wanted to make sure that that was okay
Yes.
if we wanted to change it. We could put it
Yes.
up,
We can.
unlikely.
It would be my recommendation if we could.
So do we need to vote on those 4 things separately now?
No, we can do on that, on
So all of that, okay.
Can I just ask, what is the public rights?
Sorry,
I
yeah,
was just going to ask the same.
the exercise of public rights. There are 2 dates in the year when any member of the public can ask to see the accounting records. And after you've approved the accounts at this meeting, a notice goes up on the notice board outside, and they have 6 weeks to come in and make an appointment to have a look at all the records. And the same happens again after these documents have been to the external auditors. You can again have a right to look at the externally verified accounts.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
explanation,
Thank you for the
Sarah. Any more questions before we have a proposer for accepting those? Okay, can somebody propose that we... Okay, thank you, Nick Dove, seconded by Tracy Ashford. Everyone in favour of agreeing that? That's everyone?
Unanimous.
That's all. So that's all done. That's 8 and 9, isn't it? Is that 8 and 9?
That's
No.
the agenda.
Here.
9's next.
9's next, okay. That's also Sarah. Okay, so back to Sarah again. This is point 9 on the agenda, deciding whether to adopt the council's financial regulations.
Yep. We did anticipate there may be a discussion this year about the general reserves, but you can, as Mel says, discuss it later in the year and amend the regulations again. There's only one tiny amendment for this one, and it used to relate to Excel spreadsheets, as where we keep staff keep their toil. We now have a piece of software that does it for us, and we input it there. That's the only amendment.
Oh, I think we'd be all happy with that, but can someone propose that we are? Anne, can someone second that we are? Steve? Can everyone else say aye or nay? Max has got his head in his hands. Okay, that's unanimous yes for that.
Brilliant.
Thank you again, Sarah. Swiftly, we've moved on, haven't we, to point 10 of the agenda. The Frome Town Council Management Group presenting a review of the work programme for 21-22, and that's over to Peter.
Good evening, everyone. And you'll be pleased to hear I'm not going to go through this blow by blow. You'll have seen in the report that we had an action-packed work programme last year. what I've done with the management group is identified some carefully selected highlights from last year, which demonstrate the breadth of work that we do as a council, but also demonstrate the collaboration that goes on between the teams. So the first one that I'm going to present to you is marketing and communications. The marketing and communications team is one of a number of teams that you could say oil the wheels of the FTC machine, and I would include in that category business, finance and administration. A lot of big projects last year. One of those was a Frome Times wraparound, which painted a vision of what Frome could be like in 2030, which was very interesting and was well received by the community. We've also had a number of projects related to the People's Budget, and one of those, of course, is coming up, which is the People's Budget Jubilee event. There have also been some other events happening within the town. Probably the most innovative of those was the first live audience viewing of a drone show which happened last November at the Showfield. Again, very well received by the community. And shortly after that, we had the Light the Night event, which is our normal pre-Christmas celebration. Again, very well attended by the community. And one of the things I'd like to mention about these events is that they demonstrate the breadth of expertise across the organisation in terms of event management, safety, logistics, promotion, and audience management and stewarding. Many of the skills that are needed to run these events are provided by members of the team, not just in the marketing and communications team, but also across the staff body. Community development, another important area of work for us last year. In many cases, what this was about was helping local residents to support each other in many ways. And some images shown there of some of the projects that we're involved with. Some of it is about supporting residents to connect with each other through things like street events and parties, but also it's about enabling the community to get involved with the work that we do. For example, the work on our open space management plans, that has been informed by engagement with the community. One of the things that we did last year is we actually launched a new online platform called Find Frome, a really important tool for us. It's helped to identify a number of gaps in service provision in terms of services to children, young people and families. This Find Frome online platform provides a breadth of, a wide range of information about resources that will support children, young people and families. And the last thing to say on community development is that we have developed a play strategy, and it's not just for young people, it's also for adults across the town. And one of the interesting things that's happened is that there have been a wide range of conversations about how we can use play to support adults that are maybe isolated in the community and are looking for connections. Our environment team, including the ranger team, have been tremendously busy over the last year, as they always are. Amazingly, they, together with the community, have been involved in the planting of 5,500 new trees across the town, which is an incredible feat. They've also been involved in helping to improve the habitat for wildlife in many ways. So things like bug hotels, bird boxes, various other things that will help wildlife to thrive in the town. The team have also been involved in working with the Friends of the River Frome. We've now adopted the Friends Frome River strategy, which is all about how improvements can be made along the river corridor. And this is important in one other respect, because we have been in active discussion with the Friends of the River Frome about how the ambitions that are in the strategy can be incorporated within our plans for asset devolution. And this has a connection, of course, with all of the preparations that we're making for the new Unitary Council, which Paul Wynne has been leading. Amazingly, we've had 325 planning applications that we have dealt with over the last year. And we've also been involved in enabling the community to have their voices heard with regards to some pre-application proposals, and probably the biggest of those was Selwood Garden Community. We ran a number of sessions enabling the community to have their say in terms of the early plans that were emerging on that. Our role very much is about enabling the community to be heard. It's also about ensuring that we get the sustainable development that the town needs and influencing the decisions by the local planning authority, Mendip District Council. And to assist us with that, one of the things that we did last year is we developed a climate emergency planning guide. That contains all of the sustainable development policies that we think are important to the town. And we believe that that is influencing the policy making by Mendip District Council. So that was quite a development there and an innovation. Frome has probably fared better than many other market towns in the kind of post-pandemic period. Obviously, you know, to a certain extent, we're still suffering from the pandemic, but Frome seems to have held up quite well in terms of its economic development. Nonetheless, we have worked hard to ensure that the business community has had all of the information that it needs to be able to take advantage of central government grants and other sources of support. We have produced regular business bulletins, held events, made sure that our website is fully populated in terms of the information that's available to business. And we've also been working very hard to enable business owners to find the support that they need, not only to develop their own skills, but also the skills of their workforces. And a really important innovation in all of that is the work we're doing in collaboration with training providers and other organisations in the town through the vocational training group. And lastly, but by no means least, the work we do around resilience. And one of the key features of our work on resilience is to enable active and sustainable travel in the town. No doubt you'll already have heard about the School Streets programme. Well, that started last year in the autumn with a series of workshops which enabled the community to have their say in terms of ideas for the school streets. And that information on the ideas that were developed has now been incorporated into a concept design which we consulted on last month. And of course you'll hear more about that, you know, in the coming months. And the last point I wanted to make is about the Climate Action Group, which we launched with the community in January. What that group has been doing is reviewing our current climate emergency strategy and action plan and presenting ideas to us in terms of how that could be developed further to benefit the town and the environment. And we'll continue to work closely with members of the community to enable that work to continue for the moment. So that's a real whistle-stop tour through the work programme. Of course, you may have questions and happy to take them.
Thank you, Peter, for that brilliant précis. It's really inspiring to see all the brilliant stuff that's going on in this town at the moment. It really just proves how imaginative it is and creative in the face of challenges. Any questions for Peter? Okay. Well, thank you again, Peter, for that. And then item 11 on the agenda then is to Steve Tanner to talk about whether to acquire the leasehold of rooms at Frome railway station.
Oops. Thanks, Sarah. I hope that's working. Oh, well. I guess everyone's read the report. I won't go through all that again. Sorry, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, I better hold it. won't go through the report again, just a brief history of the station for those who don't know. Sorry to existing councillors. Station was built in 1850 by Brunel's chief engineer at the time. It is a Grade 2 listed building. It's because of it's who built it, and secondly, it's one of only 3 left in the country with a shed-type roof that has managed to exist until now. It's pretty much intact as it was when it was built. There are 3 or 4 stakeholders involved in the station as it is, because one of the platforms is disused, as you know. So that's Network Rail own that, GWR own the building that's in use, and the Railway Heritage Trust have very recently got involved after the Friends of Frome Station, or Frome Station Friends group, contacted them and said, do you know about this station, which they didn't. So the 2 rooms that we're talking about were previously operated by Starline Taxis out of Warminster. They became vacant about 7 or 8 months ago. We've been in discussion with the property development company at GWR, and they've offered us to take over one of those rooms. Another taxi company we're going to take over another room. I'm not sure what's happening on that at the moment. I think they may have pulled out, in which case we'll be offered the whole suite. But for the purposes of this meeting, we're just talking about the 2 rooms. The 2 rooms are pretty derelict as they stand. They need a fair amount of decoration inside, but they have direct access onto the platform. They also have, we would have access to the waiting room and the toilet if we take on the rooms, because at the moment the waiting room and the toilets are closed when the station ticket office is closed, which is normally about 11:30 in the morning. The station itself is seeing a marked increase in footfall, mainly because there's a lot more trains that are going on. South West Railway are putting more trains on. There's direct trains now to London Waterloo and London Paddington, as well as trains up to Bath. And also the station complex itself has got a lot more footfall now. You go down there on a Friday night, a Saturday night, it's actually really quite busy. So all in all, the chance for us to take on something which could become a really valuable sort of community asset going forward is very much there. To be perfectly honest, we don't actually know what we're going to do with the rooms as yet. There's talk about making them part of the active travel plan, the LC WIP, local cycling walking infrastructure. And we're looking at things like maybe having e-bike storage or e-bike rentals, so that if people come into the town, they can pick up a bike, use the bike to get into town, or just leave a bike there if they are going to the station and going onwards from the station, so they can put the bike in a safe place and maybe put their crash helmet and stuff like that somewhere safe as well. So there's various options various ideas, should I say, of what to do with the rooms, but these rooms don't come around that often. They come around approximately every 10 to 12 years, I would say, that the lease comes up. Once the lease is taken, that's about it. So hence the sort of the need now to move reasonably quickly, although nothing on the railway happens that quickly. But I think there is a good chance for us to take something over and create a real good community space about it. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, there must be questions about that. Anne.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Steve. I noticed in the report it had how much it's going to cost us in lease terms for the next year. Is that likely to go up in future years? Because I noticed we've got some contributions from other organisations.
I would hope not. As I say, both GWR, Network Rail and the Railway Heritage Trust are all very interested in the station. There is also a new group set up called the South Wessex Community Rail Partnership, and they have got funding as well, and they are proposing to half fund the lease at the moment. That will continue. It's very much a project of theirs. So I would hope actually that the financial liability or financial side for Frome Town Council will actually reduce as it gets established. You know, if we can take on more than the space that we're talking about at the moment, there may actually be a chance for some sort of commercial operation going on there, in which case that will reduce our expenditure as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mel?
Normally, I guess we wouldn't approve a proposal where somebody says, we don't know what we're going to use it for. But actually, in this case, I think that's good because it's changing so fast that I know some people have got their eyes and plans for future uses down there. I think it's going to continue to rise. So having a stake in it will help us to assist other people. Wouldn't it be great if we could just get that large tarmacked area in front of the station to be used for something else other than for a bus turning around once every 2 weeks? So that would be really helpful. So I'm all for this. Normally I probably wouldn't be, but I'd like to see it go through.
Thanks, Mel. Nick?
Yeah, I agree. It's a great idea. I like the idea of using it for e-bike charging and storage possibly. Are there any restrictions on the use, what we could use the rooms for though? I mean, bearing in mind Mel's point, talking about how that area is becoming a bit of a food court sort of activity area. There may be other opportunities for us to use it. Could we sublet it, for example, and things like that?
Yeah, I believe we can. Again, I think whatever we do at the moment, we're being sort of quite conscious of existing operations around the station, i.e. the cafe that's opposite, what happens at the station complex itself. But yeah, I think from what the discussions we have done so far, they're very sort of open to any suggestions from us. I mean, most stations around have some sort of franchise outlet involved. So I see no reason why we couldn't do something very similar here if we go with a suitable plan.
Great. Any other questions? So we need then somebody to propose that we acquire that leasehold. Anne, someone to second? Carla? And can everyone say yes or no? That is unanimous. Well done, Steve. Good move. Okay, so now I have to propose that the next item on a possible acquisition is to be held in a confidential session, I'm afraid, members of the public and press. But we do need to vote on it first. So I am going to propose that we hold the next session in secret. Nick is going to second that. And can everyone say yes or no? Yep, that's a majority. So we'll take a few minutes for those not remaining to stop remaining.